Whoa.
I almost dropped the sloth, but I caught him.
Does he have a name?
I don't remember.
I thought you named him.
I feel like I did, but I don't remember what the name was. Maybe it was Gerald.
That doesn't sound like it.
Hmm.
I don't remember that.
I don't know
either.
why my brain was just like Gerald. Obviously.
Yeah. Hey Arnold on the brain.
I guess so.
Do you remember who Gerald is?
No, I have no idea who Gerald
Arnold's
is.
best friend.
Ah,
With the really high fade.
that crazy high top.
Yeah,
No.
the crazy high top fade.
That was wild.
It's about as tall as he is.
Yeah.
To be fair, Arnold's head's a football, so. And they make fun of it in the show, which means his head is really shaped like that.
Right.
It doesn't make a lot
In
of sense.
universe, there's a lot of questionable things.
Welcome back to the Polishing Podcast. I know I said that already, but that just sums up everything.
That's about it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Nico. This is Allie. We're
Hi.
hosts. You can find me in places at Nico All Powerful or Nico Powerful. Just depends on character limits.
Yeah.
You can find Allie at Allie Macchia
In some
in
places.
2 places.
Yeah.
I think Twitter and Byte.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, you could find me on Instagram there too, but I won't accept you because.
Well, then.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, no, you could. You could ask. Honestly, the only people who follow me these days are like new people that I meet in person or weird porn bots.
Yeah, I'm getting tagged in a lot of weird porn bot Instagram accounts, but it's like, check out my Snapchat. And the Snapchat ghost thing that you can click scan is
And
right
I'm like,
there.
no, thank you.
I just report all those accounts because
Yeah.
they're bots.
Same. I'm like, it would be different if you were like an actual human person.
Yeah, there are plenty of sex workers who
Right. Whose stuff like.
they advertise their
Right.
Snapchats.
And I'm
but
like,
they're
those
not
people
like,
I wouldn't report as a bot. It's
Yeah.
the bots that bother me.
Yeah,
Like, it's
'cause-
not the porn, it's the bots
Yeah.
that bother me. The porn is whatever. I don't really engage.
The internet
with
is for
social
porn.
Yeah. The internet is for porn.
well, we're going to get copy striked. Careful.
Just singing it?
I have no idea.
I don't think that counts.
I mean, if you can sing it well enough, it will.
It would just count as a cover, which doesn't
Even
get...
a lot of covers get nixed on YouTube nowadays
Really? That's
Yeah.
surprising to me. I wonder why that is.
because YouTube utilizes a system where it's automatic and then has people review it manually afterward. Yeah, it's not a great system. Like, it's good for keeping a lot of shit off the channel, but it hurts creators as well because if what's the word I'm looking for? If a publisher or something is like, this is my content in this video, and you go to dispute it, all of the views you accrue that ad revenue and stuff will go to the person that claimed it and not you.
What?
And the first 24 hours on YouTube, if you're somebody who posts like regularly, is crucial.
Yeah.
So
That's wild. That does not seem like a very fair system.
if not, well,
I mean,
yeah.
other people have commented on the...
Yeah.
But I didn't know that like detail of...
Yeah, it's not great. Yeah.
The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Interesting, YouTube. YouTube could just moderate content as it gets posted. Would that be asking too much?
I mean, seeing as how, like, they would need the amount of manpower they would need to do that would be like insane. Because
Yeah.
like original content that gets posted to YouTube, as well as copyright stuff that gets re-uploaded, it's
That's a huge amount.
yeah, it's just so much that happens at all points.
It seems like if they actually wanted to end like copyright infringement, though, that's how they would do it. You know, like then it
It's-
just never would get posted at all
Yeah,
because
it's just,
it would be copyrighted immediately.
well, that's the thing is a lot of it does, but there's a lot of false stuff that gets
Yeah.
nixed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The more you know.
But not a whole lot going on. We're still
Still good, still healthy, still isolating.
no. Oh, goodness, excuse me. I got sausage burps.
Hashtag.
Hashtag sausage burps. Sausage burps. No, yeah. I mean, the allergies aren't even bothering me. I did take a Claritin after I opened the windows because
That's a good idea.
pollen's been out.
Yeah.
It's a cool day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, my sinuses don't hurt.
Yeah, I've been fine.
Yeah, I'm not
Since the one
achy.
day
I
that
mean,
I
I'm
had a-
sore.
Minor meltdown over allergy symptoms.
It happens.
Yeah. But that was like, if only we had enough information to know.
You mean like tests readily available in environments where healthy people could also get tested?
Yeah. And also just like in general information that's disseminated effectively to the public,
Yeah.
which it currently is not. So, but yeah, honestly, I learned a new hobby. I learned a new skill.
Mm-hmm.
My very good friend bought me some supplies and taught me via FaceTime how to cross stitch, which if you can use your fingers and your eyes and you can count, you can cross stitch, which is so fun. I thought, because it looks complicated.
It does.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it always looked complicated to me. I mean, I never watched anyone do it. I just only ever seen the finished products. And you can get like really complicated stuff. Like there's this one thing she's doing that's huge and really abstract and difficult. But I'm just starting with something that's fairly simple. And it's really easy so far. Even when you make mistakes, it's easy to like undo things. So you literally just like make little X's and you count. Like, do I make an X here or do I not make an X here?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you just follow a pattern that tells you and you count. But it's really nice because it's kind of, because it uses just enough of your brain and your body to like do something. It's kind of like knitting.
Yeah.
Which I also like to do. So it's like enough that I like kind of have to pay attention, but I also could like put on a TV show or a movie or a podcast or an audiobook on and just kind of like let that be in the background while I
don't know why I like messing with that.
Make some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's neat. Now is a good time to pick up a random hobby that you can do by yourself, or you can do on FaceTime while you drink wine, which is what I did.
Or not drink wine.
Or not drink wine.
If you're not of a
If you're not a wine
connoisseur
person.
A wino,
but
as
it's
they
fun.
say.
And soon we will have something that is cross-stitched by me that we can hang in our bathroom that says, "Please don't summon demons in the bathroom," which is hilarious.
I mean, of all places, not the bathroom.
Not the bathroom. Anywhere else, fine, but not the bathroom.
Not the bathroom.
You can't have the plumbing problems again, you know.
Yeah, that's not cool.
So.
Yeah, I haven't taken up any hobbies. Today's my first day off and a couple days off.
Yeah.
So I just been chillaxing the best I can.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Next podcast we do, which it'll be in a couple days. We should probably just record it Monday. Mm-hmm. Still be on the same break.
Yeah. Which will be nice. You'll like actually have had time to unwind completely.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I mean, it hasn't been terrible for you, I think, but it hasn't been great either. Like you just haven't had enough time to really fully unwind for a few days.
Yeah.
You've just had like 1 or maybe 2 days off at a time and then back to the grind and closing and all that stuff. So it's nice to have a few days where we both can just chill out at home.
There we go. We're good. I'm sitting too straight up. My back is bothering me. Doesn't help that I've been up on my feet and stuff. But yeah, no, just closing a bunch. Whole Foods has done a pretty good job. It's giving out masks for people, and it was like voluntary, and now it's like not mandatory, but
you really should.
Yeah, it's more like, it's like you're not going to get in trouble, but like you should really
more of an opt-out than an opt-in situation.
Even though, and we get our temperatures taken before we clock in and stuff, and if you have a temperature, you're supposed to not clock in and just go immediately home and call your doctor, or a temperature of 100.6 or up. You have to, which is, I don't know why that's the line, or 100.4, something like that. I don't know why that is it, because, you know, I mean, I get people run warm, even though like 98.4 the average, or 98.6.
98.6.
Yeah. So, like, I think I run at 99 because I'm a warmer person and just generate more body heat. What's going on?
I'm just reading an email. They sent out an update on some grading policies.
Okay.
And I want to make sure I don't have any questions before the end of the workday.
Gotcha.
I'm listening, but also reading.
Yeah. So I get that, but the first 2 times I got my temperature taken, it was wildly wrong. With one time I was 92, the other time I was 96. And I was like, well, 92 is dangerous in the fact that I've lost too much heat. And 96 is not good either. So I don't know how accurate these are. And
some people just run low. I mean, I run low. I know that.
Well, yeah, but 92?
Right. 90,
that's just a
not 92
that's a false
low.
Yeah.
That's just a bad reading.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've
so
never heard of anyone being 92 degrees.
Yeah. So I don't know what that's about. Hopefully they've gotten better at it, because before they were showing us our like you would get your temperature taken and they show you. Now they just tell you whether or not you're below the temperature threshold. So I don't know what my temperature is. I just know I'm good enough to go to work.
You're like, all I know is I don't have a high fever. So
yeah,
which you would know anyway, frankly, because
Yeah,
having a fever like over 100 is
yeah
not something that happens without you like noticing that
Yeah.
there's a difference in your body.
Yeah.
Like you would feel like garbage.
Yeah. So who knows?
But it's a way, I guess, for them to be like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's going to be a no from me, dog.
stopgap.
Randy Jackson throwing it back to American Idol.
Man, that is a throwback.
It's gonna be a no for me, dog. What an incredible way to reject someone.
Yeah.
He was so cavalier about that shit. He would just be like, it's gonna be a no for me, dog. He would do his hands like this.
Yeah.
Like, like a mafia don, but he was like crushing people's dreams.
Well, I mean, it's better than being told you're a screeching cat in a bag full of bricks that's being
Right.
swung around or whatever
Yeah.
the fuck Simon Cowell said.
But was he right most of the time? He was.
I mean, I guess. Doesn't mean you gotta
He
tell
would be
people
like,
that.
it's neat how you think that you have talent when you're just not as offensive as the other crazy people we wouldn't even let audition. Not the same thing as being talented. Yeah.
So.
There's a lot of problems with Simon Cowell, but one of them was not
What?
his comments on people's vocal performance. I mean, he was mean about it, but he was also right 99% of the time. The people he liked are the people who like actually have stood at least a little bit of the test of time. Like,
Isn't Kelly Clarkson and what's her name?
Carrie Underwood?
Carrie Underwood, the only two that are still in the zeitgeist at all?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like I
Didn't
saw.
what's his face Clay Aiken like run for Senate in South Carolina or some shit like that? Like I think he ran for office. I don't know if he won it, but I know he
Did
ran
that
for
guy was
office.
Trans? I don't know. I remember seeing a story about Clay Aiken about something, but I don't remember what it was. Let's find out.
Wonder what Chris Daughtry is doing right now.
Somebody's playlist in Whole Foods has been so full of dad butt rock.
I like that you introduced me to the term butt rock because I truly was thrown when you said it the first time. He was like something about butt rock, and I was like, what? I can't decide whether I need this genre in my life or I would like to never know anything more about it.
Okay, so I was wrong. They did not. He's still just rocking out as a gay dude, gay white man.
Yeah.
As far as I see, if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. But as far as this is leading me to believe,
he is.
We got pronouns right here.
A cis gay.
Yeah. Wait. Well.
He's a cis gay. He's cisgendered.
Yeah.
But he's
I'm gonna
gay.
double check the Wikipedia. I'm gonna instead of just glancing over this. I don't
Yeah.
want to be cavalier about this.
That's fair.
But yeah, so a lot of butt rock
A
happening.
lot of butt rock, which is apparently dad rock, like Daughtry.
Yep.
And who else? Who you listed like a few-
Nickelback.
Nickelback.
Just dad
Which,
rock.
to be fair, my dad did like Nickelback.
Yeah.
I still will die on the hill that their first couple of
Okay.
albums are good. It's definitely dad rock though.
Wait, Nickelback?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Their first couple of albums are fantastic.
What is the song? This is how you remind me.
This is how you remind me. Yeah.
Is that the name of the
Yeah.
song? Oh, that was on that playlist as well.
It's a great song.
Uh,
Honestly, post Photograph, it was all downhill for them.
I don't see anything. It seems like he's just still cis gay. Politics. Oh yeah, he was the Democratic Party's candidate for North Carolina's 2nd congressional district.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, he won.
He won.
Yeah. The Democratic primary. His main opponent. No, God. His main opponent, Keith Crisco, died days after the primary vote, but before the votes could be certified. Wow. But so yeah, that was wild. Even though Clay Aiken was gonna win anyway, his opponent died.
Oh my God.
But not by many votes. It was less than 400 votes that he won the Democratic
Wow.
nominee. But he lost to Republican incumbent Congresswoman Renee Elmers, 59 to 41%. So wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is North Carolina, and he ran as a Democrat and a gay man.
I guess
so
that's fair. I don't know.
that's more than I would expect him
I
to
guess.
lose by. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you only lost by like 18 points. That's not. I'm surprised you even got there. I guess maybe when your opponent dies, it makes it
So yeah.
easier.
Well, yeah, but that was all the votes had been counted.
Right, but still, even if he had lost, like, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess he would still be the person. Though I am reading this because apparently Clay Aiken was on The Apprentice, and people have called Donald Trump racist, which, like, duh.
Right.
Clay Aiken was like, well, I don't think he's racist and stuff. But then the Unite the Right rally happened, and Clay Aiken tweeted out, I'm a fucking dumbass.
Clay Aiken.
So it's one
Listen,
thing.
you know what? Growth. I appreciate that. I appreciate someone who's willing to just go on the internet and be like, listen, I don't know a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
I am clearly a collection of dingleberries. I obviously have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Allow me to shamefully admit my flaws. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. That's like a level of humanity and humility we often do not have on the internet.
Especially celebrities.
Right. People will die defending that they were right, at least in some way, to the last. I appreciate that he's just like, nah, man,
I fucked up.
I'm a
big.
ding dong. Just don't even talk to me.
I fucked up big time starring Tom Hanks. Who's better now.
Yay.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks.
Him and his wife.
That's what happens when you're like
Rich.
You tend to survive things.
And in a place that has better healthcare than America.
Yes.
I think it was in New Zealand or
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah. Either one.
It's yeah.
New Zealand is doing great. New Zealand's like, what pandemic?
Yeah.
We're killing it. They're
Carl,
doing an
Carl
incredible
Urban's out
job.
there by himself defending everyone.
Right.
That's not
Carl
happening.
Urban. I love him so much.
He's a Kiwi, but that's not what's happening.
Yeah. What a weird man.
He's probably like, no, I'm staying inside. Get away.
But he probably just does that in general. Like, I can't imagine.
He put on his dread mask and was just like, just put a mask like there so that you can't even see his chin anymore.
Right.
He was just like, this is it. I'm protected.
Yeah.
I
can't imagine Carl Urban like needing to be in a lot of crowded spaces in general. He just seems like
I have no
like
idea.
the kind of dude who would prefer to drink with like his 4 buddies on a boat or something.
I've never seen any behind the scenes stuff with him.
I just
Other
follow him
than
on
him.
Instagram. So
Okay. I was gonna
he
say
does a lot of drinking in outdoor spaces
with like 2 dudes.
with like 2 dudes or by himself.
Okay.
There's a lot of that.
All right. That makes sense. That checks out from
Yeah.
the characters he chooses to play in movies
Yeah.
and stuff.
Except for all of his Xena characters, because all like 10 of the characters he played in that show. But it's
Sometimes 3 of them in the same episode.
truly, I mean, I know he played 3 different characters that had names in the show. And he was the same actor. And it wasn't even like.
And 4 different extras in that episode.
And genuinely, it's like, was there just no one else? Like, it's fine. He's great. He does a wonderful job as all of those characters. But they're not even like bit parts. Like, they're like speaking roles. They have multi-episode arcs. And it's the same guy. Like, he plays both Cupid, Aphrodite's son.
Yep.
And he looks insane, but also very hot. The hair, I have a lot of questions about, but the bod is right. And he also played Caesar, who Xena has an affair with.
Wait, why isn't it an affair?
I don't know.
Is Caesar married?
I don't remember. We should really watch.
Did the Romans
whole
have very strict monogamous
show.
relationships?
Not at all. The Romans were just like orgy here, orgy there, orgy everywhere.
I was gonna say my understanding of the worship of the god Bacchus makes me understand that it's drink, be merry, and fuck.
Yeah,
so.
pretty much. Yeah, and then also he plays like a caveman Neanderthal person.
Why does that exist within Xena?
You're honestly asking the wrong question.
I mean, I get that there's an episode where it's the modern day, and then they.
Oh, there's more than one.
Well, yeah,
modern day episode.
I just know the example you tell me is like they go on a retreat, and it's like Kevin Sorbo finds out he actually is Hercules, and the writers are evil, and it's just like this whole weird
there's
thing.
all of the modern day episodes, because there's like 3 or 4 of them, are so deeply incredible that I would rewatch them every day if I could.
I just can imagine the writers like the director comes in and is like, hey, we need some filler. You guys mind writing a super meta episode? And they're just like, oh god, let me stretch my imagination wagon. Let's
They're
go.
like, oh, you don't want a 6th musical episode for this season? Like, let's do
The
it.
director glares at them and is like, fuck, no, I don't. You have any idea how hard that's to get right?
Yeah. And they don't. And it's incredible. Xena dies like 10 times over the course of that series.
I watched Dragon Ball Z. Like,
No, I don't know anything about that show.
Goku dies so many times it doesn't matter.
So how does he get brought back? Like, what is there any explanation
Yes.
about? Okay.
Well, the afterlife is just another place that you can just get to from other places.
Xena has the same thing. You like go in a lake and there's a door. And
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes
there you
sense
go, you're in
because of
Tartarus.
Hades, and all
And
that stuff.
Yeah, like in Greek mythology, it was like a physical place you could go.
And then when you die, it's like every once in a while you can just go to Earth and visit. So whatever.
What?
Yeah. Unless you're in hell, then you're bad and you don't get to go anywhere.
Okay.
But if you're
Interesting
good,
universe
yeah.
that's been built here.
And I mean, there's the Dragon Balls, which the show is named after, that grant wishes. You summon a dragon, it grants you a wish. You can wish people back to life.
Okay.
And originally, you can only wish someone back to life once. So if they died a second time, that's it.
That's it. You're done.
But then they, like the Dragon Balls, did they get destroyed or something? I don't know. No, Kami died. So the person who makes the Dragon Balls is also tied to them. If that person dies, then the Dragon Balls stop working. They get a new keeper of them, who's a little alien kid. He's like 12 or whatever. 12. Like, he looks young, but he's probably older than that because years and different planets, all that shit. And he makes he's the new, like, I don't even know, Guardian of Earth or whatever, and he makes the new Dragon Balls, and then the Earth Dragon Balls get 3 wishes, and they get rid of the limit on how many times someone can be brought back to life, because who needs that plot device anymore?
Right, little alien kid was like, we don't have limits.
I mean, they're on their planet where they have the original Dragon Balls, they don't have limits, so it made sense for him to be like, why is there a limit? What? You guys are doing this wrong.
You guys just suck at making things.
Yeah, so... yeah, that's why Goku could just die, which it made the show a little more like stakes, because it's like, oh, he doesn't just, like, I've watched plenty in anime where someone's like, oh, did they die? And then it's just like, they just no sell, and then it's like, oh, no, they plot armor. Whereas Goku can just die, and then somebody else has to figure out how to win, but then, it's also, well, we can just wish him back. So it's like this interesting, like, he's like, oh, there are stakes because he could die, but then they'd have to wish him back, and it's like all this stuff.
Like, he could die, but death is in no way permanent.
Yeah.
So we just get a break.
Yeah. And then everybody's going to freak out and be like, how do we get Goku back? Just kind of like whenever Superman dies in the DC, and they're like, we got to get Superman back. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So
Xena kind of does a very similar situation. There's a point where they just do a retelling of Beowulf, but Xena is Beowulf. And
Xena Wolf.
And she has to definitely straight lady kiss her sidekick in order to save her.
Straight lady kiss?
It's definitely not gay.
Oh, okay. This is what you're...
It's real gay. I was like, I want to save a woman from a monster, and she's surrounded by fire, and only true love's kiss can bring her back, and it's mine. But we're just best friends. Buddies who travel together.
I mean, is that not your true love? Your best friend?
I don't know. I don't know.
She's trying real hard to get our attention.
She really wants our attention right now.
And I'm giving it to her, and she's still not.
And she's like, no, not enough.
Well, okay. Weirdo.
Our cats are all very weird.
They're so temperamental. But yeah. So.
God.
How did we get to this?
Because we were talking about Carl Urban being in Xena.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The fact that he played, I know for sure 3 characters, but I want to say that he actually plays more than those 3 characters.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And like all of them have like lines and character arcs. like a lot. And like they all look different, but not different enough. I'm like, so you just couldn't find any dude.
Just a guy.
Just anywhere in New Zealand, in Australia, in America, in England. Like,
there's probably
nobody.
Well, I wonder if they were doing some shady stuff where it's like, oh, if we use the same actors, we don't have to pay them for each different role because they're already under contract for whatever.
That sounds like something Hollywood would do.
Yeah.
Generally abuse labor.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
I'm wondering if it was something like that.
Well, if that happened, then on behalf of Carl Urban, I would like to fight all of them. Because
I was gonna say, if you've never looked into it, it might. I mean, I don't know if that's.
Yeah,
what
I
happened,
have no idea.
That would make sense to why instead of hiring new actors and different extras per each area they go to, it's just like, look at this not set where all these not white people are. It's like, isn't that the same guy who played a different guy in a different background scene?
There's multiple times where they're definitely using the same like village that they built. They're just shooting it from a different angle, so you think it's different. But when you watch the show enough, you're like, no, that's the same. They just built like 2 sets, and then they just film everything on them. They just light them a little differently and shoot from a different angle, which in some ways is like interesting and cool. And when you have a low budget, but you have to create ancient Greece in, the 90s, like there's some things that you just have to do. You have to make sacrifices. And they had such garbage access to CGI and any kind of like digital effects. Like they all look so bad.
Yeah.
That like the more use you can make of practical stuff, the more it makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
Because these were not big budget.
Are you okay? It
Yeah.
seems like you're forcing a
I just
burp.
keep burping.
Okay.
And I was like trying not to just belch directly into the microphone.
Just burp. Stop.
Yeah.
Just the John Mulaney joke. It's like, just burp, John. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
You think it's a good book?
I relate to John Mulaney too much in ways that only highlight how much my anxiety affects me. It's fine.
I saw a thing recently that because some people, there's a whole subreddit dedicated to making fun of comics. They're like, people can't tell jokes anymore. Like, it's all about how, like, discourse around like comedy and like comedians who do that and talking about comedy and stuff. Like, not even just that, but like,
right.
one of the things they were talking about is like, somebody being like, you can't say anything anymore, and turning their entire like spiel about that, but never saying anything concretely like about what they can't say anymore. They're just saying you can't say certain things anymore.
Huh.
And like, it's just a little comic that somebody made. And it's like Netflix special, this, that, and they're just making money off the fact that they're saying you can't say things.
Yep.
And somebody was like talking about different comedians who I won't name because I haven't actually watched the special, so I can't have an opinion on whether or not any of the stuff they talk. Is she? Yep.
Just rolling around in her own litter.
God.
It's disgusting.
You're so gross. You're gross.
She's like a chinchilla. She like rubs around in dirt.
Well, chinchillas have to use volcanic ash, but okay.
Right. That's just fancy dirt.
Well, yeah, but it's fancy dirt that cleans them.
Right. I think
That's
she
not
thinks
fancy dirt. That's litter.
it's litter that she kicks out of the litter box
Yeah.
and then rolls around in because
She's
she's
gross.
disgusting.
God.
I love her, and also she's gross.
Yeah, but one of the things they said is, like, somebody commented how they don't think John Mulaney's first special would fly so well nowadays. His very New in Town.
New in Town?
Yeah. Specifically, I think because where New in Town comes from.
Right.
I'm gay, I have AIDS, and I'm new in town.
But like, but I feel like what he accents in that bit is what's funny is like the way this person addressed him. That
Yeah.
like, it's not funny that he's gay and has AIDS and is homeless. What's funny
that's
is
right.
like
He
the
almost
fact
did.
that he like shoves him
Yeah.
and like pronounces these things is what's weird about it. And
I
also,
have AIDS. No, that's too strong.
and
That's too
also
strong.
that he matches that up with "and I'm new in town" is incredible. Like he says, I think he says in the bit, like, name 4 things about you. It's like, and like it's like just a very odd circumstance.
Yeah.
But so I mean, the joke isn't, haha, isn't it funny that someone has AIDS? Like it's like, haha,
gay
isn't it
AIDS,
funny
new
that
in
some
town,
stranger
homeless.
walked up to me on the street, shoved me, and announced these things.
Yeah.
That's funny. But I guess, I mean, I could see a world where it's considered insensitive just because he's not
Yeah.
exactly delicate about those things. But I think because the joke doesn't, like, because it could be any 4 things.
Yeah.
Right?
One of the things I think is a lot of people always don't take things in context. Like, especially even this thing. I'm like, in the context of the joke, like you're saying, it's not, the joke structure isn't, the reason it's funny is because gay AIDS. That's
Right.
not it.
Or homelessness. Like, he's
Yeah.
not making fun.
I always forget the homeless part because
Yeah.
the first 2 parts are so more
Right.
in your
It's
face.
so wild. And it's absolutely wild that someone just came up and just said, just like, boom.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's, yeah. So for me, the context of that matters because it's not that you can't talk about homosexuality or HIV AIDS or homelessness or poverty or racism. There's plenty of people who are talking about those like sort of hot button issues.
Yeah.
They're just, the joke isn't, oh, those things are not really problems, or like, I should be able to say the N-word if I want to. Like, nobody, like, they're joking using those things, but
Yeah.
they're not joking about those things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If that distinction is clear at all. Yeah. I mean, there's a way to like talk about those things without punching down
Yeah.
and like insulting people and belittling people.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I like about John Mulaney is that a whole lot of his comedy, whether you think it's funny or not, he's not punching down.
Yeah.
You know, like he's honestly just doing pretty funny observational humor.
Yeah. And like one of the things that I've just remembered from reading this like subreddit and this particular topic is like people talking about how Dave Chappelle doesn't like his, because some people were saying it's like, well, now that he's rich, he can't make fun of rich people anymore. Like that he's successful, and it's like, I mean, you can.
Yeah, he
I don't
totally can.
just because he himself can't disassociate with that and do it doesn't
Right.
mean it's not possible.
Right. I feel like there are a lot of rich people who make fun of other rich people.
Yeah, because I mean, just it's like I could understand why someone would be like, "Oh, it's hypocritical for me to say this when I'm a part of this group now." But at the same time, it's like, do you do the shit that you're gonna
Right.
talk about?
Right. Like,
Because if not,
are you shitty or
Yeah.
are you not shitty?
because I don't know. Like that's one of the things. Is just, and then there are some people were talking about like, oh, certain comedians are just stuck in their ways and don't know how to evolve their comedy.
I
so
think
they're
that's
like,
true.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think a lot of people just like a lot of older comedians get stuck being like, oh, I used to make fun of everybody and now I can't make fun of everybody. It's like, well, then evolve. And they're like,
Right.
no, I don't want to. It's like, okay, then you're bad.
Right. Okay.
If
then
you
like
don't
people aren't going to like you now.
Yeah,
They
'cause-
liked you in the 80s and now they don't like you anymore. And I
Yeah.
don't know what to say.
That if you can't evolve your comedy, then you were only good at one thing, and
Yep.
audiences are allowed to go, no, I won't pay for that.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah.
And apparently, some audiences are also willing to pay for you to just say, I can't say this anymore. That's it.
Right.
Which is weird.
Talking very loudly about how silenced you are.
Yeah.
It's like a very interesting phenomenon.
And I don't have any interest in hearing about it because I'm like, I don't care. Just-
Like, if you're just not producing things that anyone wants to listen to, then you don't get to complain that people don't want to listen to you. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. Like,
That's-
just be better then.
yeah.
Like, they won't let me say. Well, you can say whatever you want, but people don't have to give you money for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to pay you to be a dick.
Yeah.
So I can just keep my money and spend my time doing literally anything else.
Yeah. This is the weird part.
In the internet age, there's literally an endless amount of content for
Yeah.
me to consume. So I get to pick and choose.
And I think that's one of the reasons why older comedians that are like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
oh, I'm not PC, da, 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 all that garbage that I don't care about,
Mm-hmm.
don't do well is because people go, oh, I don't. Well, then I'm not gonna watch you. Like,
Right.
because they can literally go and it was like, oh, there's another comedian. All he's doing is talking about feet.
Yep.
Like, that's
Yep.
hilarious to me.
And that shit is funny and it doesn't offend anybody in the whole world because
Yeah.
we're just joking about feet.
Yeah.
And that shit is incredible.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, and there's certain things where it's like, okay, I mean, there are jokes that are not politically correct that are funny, but they have to be set up in a way that the context isn't just,
Yep.
hey, look at this group of people.
Haha.
That's
Like,
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
joke. Like, triggered. Like,
Yeah.
it's not funny. It's not particularly clever.
Yeah,
It's just like, I don't know, circle jerking
yeah,
with a bunch of people who like don't have manners.
yeah.
Is kind of,
'Cause, like, there's a lot
it's
of-
not funny. It's not innovative. It's
Yeah.
not clever. Like, shock comedy is done. We're done with that now.
Yeah, I mean, even when it was around, it wasn't like, I guess it was funny as a teenager, but like if I look back at it, I'm like, I don't know.
It's really cringy now.
Yeah, it's just yelling the like certain words at
Right.
the top of your lungs doesn't.
It's not funny.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. Like when Carlos Mencia was popular,
Right.
like his whole thing was just making fun of special needs people, and that was basically
Yep.
it.
Yep.
That nowadays, I'm like, why?
Yeah, it's just not funny anymore.
How did he have a platform for so long?
Yeah, for so long.
Because like it's not that like
It's not actually funny or clever.
yeah it's real hard to do that impression
Right, like it's
as an able-bodied person.
right. Yeah, it's very weird.
I'd be more impressed if someone in a wheelchair got up and started acting like a regular person
Right, like-
or an able-bodied person. I
Right.
shouldn't say regular, but yeah.
But yeah, it's
But then
just
I'd also
wild.
be like, wait a minute, have I been fucking conned? Are you a grifter, you son of a bitch?
Well, there's that one episode of New Girl where they talk about how her dad's ex-girlfriend pretended to be paraplegic, and they threw her out of a wheelchair. Have you seen this episode?
I don't know.
It's the episode where they find out that her dad is dating the girl they went to high school with.
Oh, I mean, I've seen that episode.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
There's a
this
bit in the
part.
beginning where Cece is like, "I'm so excited, Jess, to see you meet your dad's new girlfriend because every time you meet his girlfriends, they're always terrible and you always chase them off in increasingly incredible ways."
Now
Because,
you're
you
gonna
know,
jump on my lap.
Jess is like usually very chipper, but she gets really intense sometimes. And one of the things she gets intense about is her dad's girlfriends. So there was apparently a point where he dated a woman who pretended to be disabled. And
Well, she's interested in why Charmander's in her bed.
she's like, "This is my space-wise Charmander in my bed."
Hello. Yes, tiny fire lizard. What are you doing?
She hit him in the face.
She just touched him. She didn't hit.
Do you want me to move this so you can sit? Look. See? He's gone.
We'll see if she
She's
goes
just
back.
looking at me like, what'd you do? But yeah, so there's like a scene where they've like thrown her out of the wheelchair and she's on the ground and she's like, how could you do this? Jess is like, I know you're faking. And for a second it's really uncomfortable, and then the woman just like gives up. She's like, oh, fine. And she gets up and like grabs the wheelchair and leaves. And you're like, what? Though not all wheelchair users actually like use their wheelchair all the time.
Oh yeah, I know
In fact,
that.
a lot of people only use it like part of the time.
Part of the time, yeah.
Or most of the time, but not all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to feed into some sort of mythology that like if you see someone get up out of a wheelchair, they're faking.
Yeah.
No, they may just like be able to stand for short periods of time. But
Well,
not
I'm
for
talking
long
about like a
periods.
comedian who's doing a whole bit and then gets up and starts doing jumping jacks. It's like,
That'd be-
well, wait a minute.
That'd be wild. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I also think it's lazy to be like, oh, I can't say anything because I'm PC. It's like, no, your whole job is to be funny. If you can't be funny without limitations,
Without being racist, sexist, intolerant.
right? Like if you're only able to be funny when you're being a dick to somebody, then you're just not that funny, my dude. Like I just hate to break it down for you, but there's lots of people who've existed on this planet for a long time who are funny without being mean.
Well, she's just sniffing Charmander. She's just interested in him.
Is her new best friend?
I guess so.
She loves Charmander.
Same boat.
If she goes to sit in the bed, I'm gonna put Charmander in there with her. She's still sniffing it. It's a small toy. She can only sniff so much of the toy.
She's still doing it.
Yeah. Do you like the smell? I saw your little mouth. You like him, huh? I think she likes Charmander. But yeah, it's lazy. I'm like, so you're not good at your job. That's fine. But just like say it,
Yeah.
you know? Don't blame other people because you're not good at your job.
Yeah. And don't blame the audience for not wanting to listen to you, because that's their whole. The audience is there to let you know whether or not what you're doing is worth listening to.
Right. And if it's not, then people will not show up.
Yeah.
And
Also,
if it
she
is
just wanted the thing filled with
toy.
catnip. Yeah.
hilarious to go sit on it.
Well, yeah.
She just took the catnip filled toy and,
And
sat on it. It's such a weird animal. She's like, thank you for this toy that contains treats inside. I would like to just place my body on it. Strangest creature.
She doing stuff now? It sounded like it.
Yeah. She's rubbing her head on it.
Well, yeah. I mean, catnip.
Yeah, that's fair.
They've got glands on their face.
And they just rub on stuff.
But yeah.
Yeah. That's just lazy comedy.
Yeah.
Real comedy is when Carl Urban plays 3 different characters in the same TV show.
In the same episode.
In the same episode. No,
That would be funny.
not in the same episode, but it's like literally from season to season, he's different characters. I want to say there's a season wherein he plays both Cupid and Caesar in the same season. Not the same episode, but the same season.
It's not good enough.
And it's like wild. I mean, they're doing a lot with hair and makeup for his character because as Cupid, it's like the hair is like this blonde, terrible, like not toned orangey blonde thing, but his beard is still dark brown. And he's like super
Oh my
tan
god, she's got 2 toys.
and like oiled up all over. And he's like shirtless, wearing tight leather pants, and he's got the wings on his back. And that's the Cupid look. But then the Caesar look is like he looks fairer. They do the Caesar cut.
You mean the Zucker cut?
Yeah, exactly. And then
God.
like he's wearing full armor and they make him look older and he's not nearly as sexualized. But it's the same dude. It's still Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Xena is making out with Caesar, not Cupid. So I don't know where her priorities are at.
She just doesn't like dudes covered in oil.
That's not true at all. She fucks a lot of dudes covered in oil.
Well, look, I was just throwing out there.
Every man in that show gets shirtless and covered in oil. Now that I'm thinking about it,
That's how they used to do it, though.
I mean, really, they really rub those dudes down.
Yeah, in the 80s and 90s, like, watch any movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme, whoever's in shape, is shirtless for a moderate amount of time. They are completely drenched in baby oil.
You know their skin is soft.
Oh, yeah, because it
They
can't...
just spend months filming like that. Like,
Yeah.
that's wild.
There were whole days where it's just like, cut, he's starting to dry out, more baby oil, and then whoever came over and just went,
God forbid he's wearing shorts because then you got to oil up them legs.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
What an
that's like
incredible
how
time.
there were sweat was back then. It's just copious amounts of baby oil.
We should bring that back. Just cover everybody in baby oil all the time.
I mean,
How we have all these superhero movies, we don't have a bunch of people covered in baby oil. I'm upset about that.
because it probably doesn't hold up well to HD cameras.
It super doesn't, but I don't care.
Because everybody's going to be like, they're not sweaty, they're just covered in baby oil. You can see the sweat beads forming and just flying off of them. Under those hot lights.
Ain't no friction on that skin at all. Just slipping and sliding all around the set.
There's a blooper where somebody goes to throw someone, they just go whoop and just fly away.
That checks out. I don't understand. That sounds like a Guardians of the Galaxy outtake. So
Yeah.
I'm sure Chris Pratt would get oiled up.
Yeah.
And he's like low-key canceled, but he's still hot. So
Also, you've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. How do we feel about Terry Crews still? Because I don't remember whether or not his apology after all that went down was sincere or was one of those canned celebrity apologies.
I mean, I don't know that there's any bit of difference. Some people just have a better publicist. I mean,
we just talked about how Clay Aiken came out and was just like, I'm
I
an idiot.
I really doubt a publicist wrote that tweet. I
Oh,
think
yeah,
that was just
I know.
Clay Aiken. And if they are, then they're the best publicist of all time. And that's part of it too, is like there's sort of the traditional PR way of responding to things. And I think whenever a celebrity breaks from that, whether it's planned or
Pale knees are in the shot. Gross.
your pale little knees.
Get them out.
Got little pale knees.
Get them out of here.
They're so cute.
Disgusting.
Got little pale knees.
No.
Anyway, you
It's a weird
distracted me
tangent.
with your pale knees. I mean, you're pale everywhere because you're just pale.
Oh, I
but-
forgot that part of the screen's cut off anyway. Never mind.
Oh, yeah, no.
I drew attention to nothing.
You drew attention to.
Idiots, you looked, didn't you?
You tried to see the knees. But yeah, I mean, like the traditional thing in PR is at first to just like deny and deflect. And then eventually, if you keep getting called out, to apologize, but do it in such a way that makes it sound like you were right the whole time. Somehow, I don't know. I mean, I get really frustrated. One of the things that has bothered me about Terry Crews for a really long time, and Terry Crews' character.
Hot take alert.
What?
I said hot take alert.
Oh, I don't know what I thought you said, but it was not hot take alert, and I was so confused. I was like, what?
I just spoke a different language all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that bothers me about Schmidt's storyline in New Girl, right? Is the idea that now someone is fit, and before they were super fat and disgusting,
Oh.
and that both of those things are true, right? That like now they're hot and thin, and before they were fat and disgusting and unlovable and gross and unattractive and blah blah blah.
Well, they do a little bit of good in Schmidt's character,
Right.
where the one girl he ends up falling in love with, but then also while still in love with Cece, liked him before he got in shape. And they do, I think, one credit to the writers is that they don't go, oh, this person's life is so much better. They
Right.
also show how they're still like crippled with self
Doubt.
confidence and
Yeah.
doubt, and like just because they're attractive now doesn't mean they're a good person. Like
Right.
Schmidt's a piece of garbage in the
he's a
beginning.
piece of garbage.
And even Terry Crews, his Sergeant Terry in Brooklyn Nine-Nine has a bunch of problems with his own self-appearance and
Yeah.
all. Like they don't make, at the very least, they're not like, oh, this person became fit and everything was better. Nothing
Right.
was wrong. Fat people are the worst.
Yeah, but I think it does
It's
still
it's
ultimately
still not
Right.
good, but
yeah,
at least
and
they're not.
Ultimately, I
you
think
know.
Terry Crews has demonstrated through his social media presence that he ascribes to the notion that fat people are bad, that fat is gross and inherently unwell and unhealthy, despite empirical evidence to the contrary in a lot of cases. That there's just a lot of things about his social media presence that I don't love. I think I unfollowed The Rock too for the same reason. This like rise and grind crowd is just like exhausting to me because it's really fat phobic.
Yeah.
It comes from a deeply privileged position because you can't do what they do without people who are paid full time to manage your nutrition, your household, your finances, your bills, your physical health in a million different ways. Like
Yeah.
you can't actually do what they're doing without a team of people whose job it is to make you look the way they do. And they sell it as I'm doing this work. And like, yeah, it's you lifting the weights or whatever, but you didn't create this regimen.
Yeah.
You don't even cook your own food.
Yeah.
You don't have to clean your own home. You make millions of dollars for like 6 weeks of work, and then you can go on vacation for 6 months to the fucking like islands, and then you never have to do anything for 6 months because you made millions and millions of dollars, and you can get paid even more millions to like post on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like,
I will say credit to The Rock's PR people. I think they've caught on to that recently, and he started to talk a lot more about people behind the scenes that help him. Like, he's even mentioned how the person that builds his like mobile gym that goes wherever he goes is a woman, and like how she's awesome, and if it weren't for her, he wouldn't be able to work out when he's on set and stuff,
because there's no way he needs these insane machines and equipment.
Well, he used to just work out at gyms in the places that he would shoot at, but you know, he got so famous that
it's not really feasible.
Yeah, because he used to be like, oh, if you see me with my headphones on in the gym, that you don't approach me, I'm in the middle of my workout, but once my headphones come off my like actual head and they're around my neck, I'll like say hi and take pictures and stuff. But it probably got to the point where it's like, oh, that's the fucking Rock, that he just couldn't.
And I'm sure there were gyms who were probably like, please stop coming.
Oh yeah, because
this is insane, and it's dangerous.
Yeah,
to have like a crowd of people in a weightlifting gym is like dangerous. People could get hurt.
Yeah. So it makes sense that he would need a mobile gym, especially since most of his brand is his just
enormous body.
I mean, if we were going to talk about somebody who could look like Superman,
without any help from the costuming department, all he needs is just to roll up. And
I know what you're thinking, but Nico, he ain't white. And it's like, yeah,
I
don't care.
Right.
The man, it's just fucking
like
enormous.
A human Superman, like a person.
When he was cast as a Hercules in his Hercules movie, I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, look at him.
Yeah, I was like, all I have to do is be able to see.
Is he Greek? No.
Who gives a shit? Nobody who ever plays Hercules is Greek.
At the very least, his skin tone kind of matches what a Greek person's would.
Right? It's like better than it's better than fucking Kevin Sorbo, who they had to tan so much and who still never looked buff enough or brown enough.
Yeah.
Because the tanner he got, the blonder his hair got. So it was like, well.
Wait a minute.
And that was prior to, I think, decent self-tanners. So they would have just turned him orange, and that would have been terrible. So he was just like tan a lot, and his hair was just blonde by the end of that show. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, he did not look like any sort of Hercules that would have existed in ancient Greece.
To be fair, neither does Hercules from Hercules. Why has he got red hair?
Disney whitewashes everything. Megara looks white as hell.
Well, no, there's not. Is there anybody who looks Greek?
No.
Other than like the wait, is it Athens that they go to in there?
I forget.
They call it the Big Olive as a joke to the Big Apple.
That's incredible.
Which I didn't realize until recently.
Oh my god, I love that. That's a great writing choice.
Yeah,
that's a strong.
I mean, the writing's great.
The writing for Hercules is fantastic, but it's a bunch of white people, which makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, I think that for a long time, and I think Terry Crews still exists in this world where there's a spectrum of humans, and fat people are on the low end, and buff people are on the high end, and most people exist somewhere. Most people are supposed to, right? There's this narrative of like what's normal is to be on like closer to the thin or the jacked space. Particularly for men, I think muscle is more important than like weight. Yeah. But
how ripped you look, how big your muscles is.
And not even just how strong you are.
It's how you look.
Right, but how defined are your muscles.
Yeah, because like when you watch strongman competitions, they don't look
you don't
like
see
appealing. Like
you don't see, they don't have 6-pack abs.
Yeah, their stomachs are big, and like sometimes they have like you can kind of see their abs, but not like it's not defined because it's not about it. It's just all strength and mass.
Yeah, because like building that mass is what matters.
Yeah.
And having like a lower center of gravity that actually weighs something is helpful when you're lifting giant shit above your shoulders. Like, like the physics of that.
Thousands of pounds, and there's like, like humans can do this.
Like you can't actually have the majority of your body weight nipples up if that's the case. Like you have to have something that helps ground you, like your legs and your stomach and your hips. It helps if they actually weigh something, and if you've actually built muscle there in ways that aren't sort of weirdly conventionally attractive to the
Yeah.
point where like Hugh Jackman having to dehydrate and starve himself in order to do some of these scenes as Wolverine where all of his like muscles and shit are popping out.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's just what bodybuilders do in general
Right.
whenever they go do their competitions to make the muscle definition as much.
But we've now
as possible.
defined so much of that as like normal or ideal.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody outside of that like that world, I don't think it's normal, and I don't even know because like even doctors say it's unhealthy. It's like you can only do this for the like time that you're on stage, and as soon as you get off, you need to start drinking water and rehydrate ASAP.
I wonder how many of those people end up hospitalized for like dehydration and fatigue.
I mean, since they're doing the I was gonna say since they're
Especially
doing
like
those
amateurs, not
yeah.
like pros.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I'm sure they read online, oh, this is, and that's part of the problem too.
I bet
like,
professional bodybuilders get an IV as soon as they're off
oh
stage.
yeah. And that's the thing is like when you have privilege, when you have money, when you have access, you
Yeah.
can do those things. But for the average everyday, and really you shouldn't do those things in my opinion. It doesn't. To me, that like makes no sense. And like, why would you do that to yourself? But fine.
I mean,
I don't
if
know.
that's what you
I
wanna
drink,
do.
so I guess I can't be mad at anyone for doing something
Oh yeah,
that's like
there's
bad
no
for their
way.
body.
Like if somebody's doing like literally like bodybuilding and like those like body sculpting competitions, there's no way they're ingesting alcohol
Yeah.
because it doesn't. Alcohol, in and of itself, wine, beer, any like basically
Liquor,
anything, is
anything.
just empty calories.
Which isn't like a, I mean, empty calories is not, from what I've heard from nutritionists, is like not a real term.
I know. Oh, I mean,
It
yeah,
doesn't
it's
like
not,
scientifically mean anything.
Yeah, but it's just like
it's just calories without any other nutrients.
yeah. It's and that's the thing is like they're looking for it's like oh this has to have this amount of protein, this has this.
Because I'm only eating so many calories. So
Yeah.
it has to have the other nutrients tied to it. Otherwise, I'm not going to get those nutrients.
Yeah.
Which is like,
So they can't afford to drink alcohol at all.
right.
If they're trying, if like what their whole deal is, what do I look like?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's,
But if it's not,
what's
then,
unfortunate then is that gets held up in media as, oh, this is what's normal. Everybody looks like this.
yeah, because like when Jason Momoa wasn't Aquaman ripped, and he was just at the pool with with his kids, or
I think so.
and then people were like, oh, he's got a dad bod, and it's like, he's just not ripped right now.
Right. He just doesn't have 18 million abs that you can see in a pool when he's relaxing with his family. Like
'Cause
he's not trying to look like a ocean superhero
Yeah.
merman person.
Yeah.
Like
He still is. I saw someone like who was like, if this is what the like a dad bod qualifies as now, then I don't know what I have anymore, and I'm a
Exactly.
full-time dad.
and people like they really god damn it. That needs to go
Gerald.
on yours. Gerald my boob keeps hitting Gerald.
Well, all right.
So you just have to babysit Gerald.
Well, yeah, but dang it, my microphone's not set up for this. Gerald, stay. Okay. This is a little
But
too
yeah,
close.
the problem is then when that body type gets presented over and over and over again as normal, and when you write in dialogue or have characters put in situations where they're like, well, I used to hate myself,
Yeah.
and everyone used to hate me, and I was so disgusting, and all I ever did was eat and take up space, and how gross and disgusting and terrible is that? Now I'm buff and muscular, and it makes no sense that I have self-doubt. It made sense that I doubted myself then, but now there's no reason to doubt myself. And that's like a fucked up dichotomy. Like,
Yeah.
there was no reason for Terry or Schmidt to have doubted themselves then. Like, they were still smart, still capable, they still had relationships, like, they were still a worthwhile person who had value, and their weight and appearance has no bearing on their value as a human person or what they bring to the world and to their relationship. So it's when you set up that dichotomy, and for years and years, that's what people see in media over and over again. That's when we develop these really unhealthy coping mechanisms and relationships to food and exercise and body image.
Yeah.
And like things like orthorexia, right, which is like this obsession with like working out and eating clean and whatever, that gets to a point where like it disrupts your everyday life, is hugely common among men.
Yeah.
But it's never diagnosed because a lot of these men end up looking like they have this perfect body, but you shouldn't be spending 20 hours a week in a gym if that's not your fucking job.
Yeah.
But there are just like regular everyday dudes, and they say, a lot of them say, oh yeah, like this is my time, rise and grind, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, my dude, you're sleep deprived. You haven't eaten an actually balanced meal. Like, you're obsessed with counting calories or your macros. Like, there's a way to do those things and engage with them in a healthy way, or to do it as a hobby. And then there's engaging with it in such a way that it's disruptive to your life and you're incapable of forming regular relationships where you can't have a disruption to your schedule without freaking out.
Yeah.
Like the stereotype of the models who like eat a cookie and then they have to like run 6 miles and they cry and they have bulimia and blah, blah, blah. Like those things exist.
Yeah.
But it's also really common in men, and it gets really under-recognized because we praise these over-muscled bodies that are only possible with people who spend 40 hours a week doing massive amounts of intervention to their bodies to make and keep them looking like that.
Yeah.
That's like, not like a normally achievable thing for humans.
Yeah, because Chris Pratt has never come out and said anything about how he got fit for Marvel, but he has said some stuff on his Instagram where it's like, this is the only thing I get to eat today.
Yeah, like those videos were hilarious, but they were also really sad.
Yeah, because it's like, well, is that the only thing he can eat? Or is he just saying that?
Like, is he just playing it up to be funny? Or is this man really hungry right now?
Yeah. But then, like...
And, like, it's not cute if this man is just hungry. Like,
Well,
he's still going to be attractive. Like,
Yeah.
I thought he was cute when he was Andy on Parks and Rec, and he was, like, this little pudgy man. Like, he was still attractive.
Yeah.
Like, nothing patently changed about him except for, like, his fat to muscle ratio, which could change in a weekend. Like, it doesn't, like, that stuff is, like,
and then
irrelevant in a lot of ways.
And then Kumail Nanjiani coming out and saying, like, look how ripped I got, but also this wasn't possible without being paid by Marvel to do it.
Right. Like,
and
it became my job to look like this.
Rob McElhenney from Always Sunny.
Always Sunny talked about it too.
Yeah.
He was like, you can do it too, as long as you have, and then like listed all the things that they gave him.
Yeah, a personal trainer.
Right.
And this and that.
And then also
this.
Literally nothing to do all day but this.
Yeah.
For months.
Yeah.
Like, it was your full-time job to do this and to hang out with these people.
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty wild... Yeah. I mean, I have a friend who is trying to break into film, and he's very self-conscious about his body, and I was visiting him recently, and he was like, yeah, you know, I could never get hired into a bunch of these films because I'm not buff. I was like, well, a lot of people, when they get hired into something like Marvel, are not as
Kumail Nanjiani? He was just a skinny little dude.
He's a little dork.
Yeah.
It's just a very stereotypical, like, dweeb body.
He probably ran, but that's probably all he did.
That's about it.
But he ran.
I was like, no. They don't expect anyone to look like that coming in, I think.
Unless they were specifically like, hey, can we get The Rock because he looks like that already?
Right. Like, unless there's like, unless you built your brand around that.
Yeah.
I was like, I think they expect, because they do it with literally every person that ends up in their films.
Yeah, they cast Chris Pratt and then he lost his weight.
Right. And truly smart for him, because I would not be doing a goddamn thing for these people until they cut that check.
Well, yeah.
I would be like, give me my millions.
That's the thing, is like,
and then I'll look like whatever the fuck you want me to look like. Like,
yeah. Chris Evans, even before Captain America, like when he was the Human Torch in those not great Fantastic Four movies, still he wasn't like Captain America buff. Right. He was just fit.
Yeah.
He didn't have to be. Like, even though he was a superhero, it wasn't based on his physique. I can understand when they're like, oh, well, you're going to be peak human condition. You got to kind of look like your peak. So they were like, all right, here, let's do this.
Let's build some muscle mass. Let's do these. And that makes sense to me, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to pay people millions of dollars to do it, then that's totally fine. And also actors...
And then we got that shot in Civil War where he's flexing that helicopter.
And I believe it. I'm like, he could pull a helicopter.
And I heard the floor get wet in the theater. Because all of the women in there just...
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you...
It's like, did it get damp in here?
Yeah. If you were gonna make love to a man, you'd want it to be a man with arms like that. I mean, that is... He could protect you, he'd cradle you.
And here's the hypocrisy and everything Allie just said. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, but like, there's a difference, I think, between... looking at it.
I was just joking. It's not I'm not digging at you for real.
But I think it's worth noting, right? Because I think it's okay to enjoy people looking like that and also acknowledge that
it's not possible for your average everyday person to even come close to that.
And also that's not the only way to be attractive.
Yeah.
And I think people get lost in that because it's fed to us so much, and with so much visual media in our lives, particularly Instagram, we get really caught up in like, well, if I'm not whatever this ideal is,
if I don't have this giant ass,
right, then like I'm not attractive, and people won't be attractive to me. I mean, it happens to me all the time because I'm not thin, because I'm not conventionally attractive in a lot of ways, even though like I do have a lot of privilege. Because of that, there's times when like even I look at myself and I'm like, well, there's no way for me to be attractive. It's not possible for me to be attractive because I don't have these arbitrary attributes. And yet, like, my entire life, I've still had people who were attracted to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was gonna say, you haven't gone a very long time without,
like, dating people if I wanted to.
yeah.
Like, what's
Hell, you came back from a very traumatic experience, went no dating, and then we got together.
Right. I was like, I'm not dating anybody. Whoops. Like, I accidentally found my husband.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh no. I regret nothing. Well, I regret a lot of things, but not our marriage.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. I have regrets, just not this one. But yeah, I mean, it becomes hard to train your brain out of those things. And then people treat others like their value and worth as a person or as a partner is based on these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to know, even in your own head, how much of your attraction to others is based on what you've been told or how you really feel. Mm-hmm. And knowing that there's like a place where it's kind of in the middle, right? Like that people get told different things or they're raised around people who look different. So there's like a level of interest and familiarity in certain like physical attributes. And yeah, I mean, it all just changed. It's all complicated and there's no like one way. And if you say like, well, I only really have dated thin people, that doesn't mean you hate fat people. You may not be attracted to fat people. And I don't inherently think that's a problem unless you also think that you don't
fat people are gross and
right
disgusting.
and have no
You
value
yeah.
and like and are horrible and whatever.
Was,
like those are two very different things.
Yeah, having preference toward a certain body type and thinking, oh, that's disgusting, are differences.
Right, like one is just like a preference that you probably have no control over, and another is
sometimes you're not even aware of it.
Yeah,
you're just like, oh wait, I guess I haven't dated anybody who's this.
Yeah,
you know, sometimes
that,
you don't
like,
think
matters.
about it. Yeah,
yeah, and it's hard to imagine being attracted to a group of people who you never see as having like sexual or romantic potential. Like one very difficult thing about being a non-thin person is that especially a woman, is that we almost never see a fat woman on TV or in movies being loved and taken exactly as she is. She's always the before or the friend or the hag or the comic relief. Like she's not hot or desirable. It's very rare that you see a fat woman.
Isn't there a show?
There was like Shrill came out on Hulu and it was like written and starring like a fat woman and she like gets
it was on
laid.
USA. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I don't know.
It probably wasn't as good as a thing that I'm trying to remember.
And some people like they try to make shows like that and then I guess they get focus grouped out of having anything interesting to say. And so they end up actually just making fun of that person instead of offering some sort of counter narrative. Like the problem is that when the narrative gets told over and over and over and over again the same way, people start to assume that that's what's normal instead of applying what's normal in their everyday life to that media and saying like, right, well, in real life, like men don't all have 6-pack abs.
Yeah.
And women don't all wear a size 0. Yeah. Like in real life, people just look different all the time.
Yeah. Nobody like.
And that's just like what people like. That's just normal. That's how the world works. It doesn't really matter where you go or where you live. Like there's always people who just look different.
Yeah. And it's also like the stigma is so far is like you never see anyone who's skinny who is also unhealthy because you can be skinny and it's not good.
Right.
Like there are tons of skinny people who are, you know, their metabolism is just so fast that it doesn't matter what they eat, but that doesn't mean they're healthy because they could go to like do any physical activity and get just as winded just as quickly as someone who is fat.
Right. It's like weight has very little to do with ability.
Yeah.
I mean, it can have something to do with ability, but more often than not, it doesn't.
Yeah. Like since I've gotten this tummy, there was a point where I was a skinny kid, it is harder for me to clip my toenails because it's uncomfortable to have a tummy in the way.
And there's a physical barrier, right?
Yes.
Like that.
Whereas when I was younger, there wasn't, and I could just bend over freely.
Right.
But that's not so much, like, that doesn't depend on my healthiness level.
Right.
Like,
you still get them toenails cut.
Yeah.
So
also, I could stretch more, and then it wouldn't be as big of a problem. Like, if I really, really, really cared about it, I could stretch more and become more limber.
Flexible, yeah. And you can do that at any weight. Pretty much. So, yeah, I mean, and that's with the whole Terry Crews thing for me. Sometimes it's very hard to engage with the character who's sometimes in a fat suit.
Yeah.
Because to me, I see myself as the character in the fat suit, right? Except I don't have to wear a fat suit. I just get out of my bed.
Yeah.
And
you're not banging on windows until they break.
Right. And that's like the depiction of that is so grotesque.
Yeah.
And like it's just very odd. Like it's very weird to me.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons why Thor's fat suit in Endgame bothered me so much.
Mm.
And also, they could have just let Chris Hemsworth gain weight.
Or yeah, he just could have not been buff.
Right.
That's it.
Like, why did he have to be fat? And why did he have to be fat in these particular ways? And why did his fatness have to do with alcoholism and overeating
and depression?
Yeah, but was it depression?
Yeah.
It was alcohol. I don't know.
I mean,
it was like they were more willing to say, oh, it felt like pathologizing it, right? It was like, oh, well, if you're fat, then obviously you're depressed.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you're overeating, because you have this lack of self-control and you're this grotesque.
Yeah.
Like when he hugs Rocket and Rocket touches his stomach and Rocket's like, ugh. It's like, it's just a stomach. Like, I don't know. It's not that weird. First of all, Rocket's at everyone's stomach level, so he should just be used to like being around people's stomachs.
He also doesn't like being hugged or anything either.
Right.
He's
And
like,
it's
don't treat me like a tiny pet, damn it.
But it's like, there's nothing more grotesque about his stomach, whether he has abs or not. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't. There's no difference. Like maybe he's dirty, maybe he hasn't showered,
Yeah.
but that's like not really a thing that they mention. It's gross because he's fat,
Yeah.
not because he's like being gross.
Yeah.
And so when the two get conflated, when they mean the same thing, that's a problem because like I shower, God damn it, and I smell nice when I go out into the world, and my clothes are clean when I go out into the world.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating that people will assume, based on media like that,
Yeah.
that me or people who look like me are patently gross, no matter what we do. Like our bodies are just gross.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it kind of not as fun. Like
Yeah.
it makes it hard to like enjoy their stuff. Like we were talking about with comedians. Like
Yeah.
it just, as an audience member, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's not for me then.
Yeah. Because I can
It's alienating.
Yeah. Like I get in like, because, you know, in Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girl, they specifically over exaggerate some things
Right.
to like, here's the joke part of it. But
Right.
like there's,
That's how comedy works.
Yeah. but when you do it and it's based on someone's physical appearance and it's like
Yeah.
over exaggerating it, there's a certain point where it loses its the comedy bit is not that, you know, he's like very desperate for this one Chinese restaurant's food.
Mhm.
It's just like you're exaggerating like his fatness to a point where it's just like this doesn't. I'm trying to figure out how to word this correctly. Like it does. The joke was still he's fat. He wants to eat food.
Mm-hmm.
You just made it more extreme than that, so it's funnier.
Right.
Like
It's like if the underlying thing
is still
is not funny
yeah.
or relies on this like offensive caricature of people that causes real harm in the world.
Yeah. Because
You
like
know,
Jake's whole thing is he's a man child,
right.
and like they over exaggerated a lot where he's like, oh no, my soda spilled out of my cereal and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or when he goes to that bar and he gets a whiskey with an orange soda chaser.
Uh,
It's so funny.
And then he does a shot of whiskey and it's supposed to be a sipping whiskey, so he's just like,
It's like,
"Whoa!" and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that's an over exaggeration that's funny because if anybody should be unhealthy, Jake shouldn't be able to run anywhere, even though he's a cop that
Right.
apparently has to stay in some kind of physical shape.
yeah. And,
Because-
and frequently chases people.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, he's always running.
Yep.
So it's like,
But
how,
all he does is like eat candy and never go to the dentist.
Yeah.
Like, he should not have teeth.
Yeah.
He should not have any kind
But
of
he
healthy
doesn't-
cardiovascular system.
Like, he makes fun of himself, but no one else is like, oh, Jake, why you're looking kind of tubby or anything
Right.
like that.
Like none of those comments get made.
He's just like, oh, man, I think I should stop drinking so much soda. I
Right.
just ran up these 3 flights of stairs. They really got me.
And it's like the man children of the world, A, don't know that they're man children,
Yeah.
which is the joke. And B,
Yeah.
like it doesn't hurt anybody because if you sit around drinking soda and eating candy all day and like cheese puffs in orange soda for your breakfast cereal,
Yeah.
like you like that no, you're not doing systemic harm to anybody but yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the joke doesn't hinge on making fun of a group of people who will have real world consequences from it.
Yeah.
But when you mock fat characters, there are real world consequences, which is
Yeah.
that fat people get harassed and attacked and judged and
Made fun of in school because they're
made
fat
fun
kids.
of. Yeah, picked on, get not hired. Like fat people are hired less, are paid less than thin people. Like there's just a huge amount of discrimination that happens.
Yeah.
And that becomes really difficult because we get these like social narratives
Yeah.
of, well, it's because they're fat and disgusting,
Yeah.
is like what's underneath the joke, even when you're exaggerating it.
Yeah.
Because the truth is that like needing a particular food from a Chinese restaurant so badly that you hit it and break the window is objectively funny. That has nothing to do with his weight and could be done by any character who just really likes Chinese food. Like that could be done by Boyle, who's a foodie,
Yeah.
right? And it would still be hilarious
Yeah.
because he's this like little man obsessed with food, and he
Yeah.
could be like, I want that thing, bah, and break it, and it would still be funny.
Yeah. But the joke for this specifically is that he's so fat that he needs the food.
And he can't control it, and he lives in New York and can't find another Chinese place. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Like it's like it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's like the joke works for different people and it'd be funny, but
Right.
like this is hinging on
Or Rosa just losing her temper and being like, psh, like
Yeah.
that. It's funny that way.
the
But-
joke hinges on he's fat, so he's gross and he doesn't know how to control himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So all of that is to say, I don't know how I feel about Terry Crews because sometimes on the show, especially,
I forgot that's what I asked.
yeah, on the show especially, there's like these really wonderful moments where he talks a lot about his race as it affects his like perception as a father and a police officer and his experience as a
Yeah, there's
black
that
guy.
whole episode where he gets profiled even though he's a sergeant in the police force.
Right. When he's like trying to grab his
Daughter's little giraffe toy. Yeah.
stuffed giraffe toy in his own neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really important episode, and it's really lovely, and I think that's done really well. And there's also a lot that I really love seeing a black man in a cop show represented as being a good father and a leader
Yeah.
and someone who's loving and kind and ultimately gentle while also strong and not emasculated in any way, and that's really wonderful. And the fact that he's like looked up to and respected by his peers is like a really important thing. So there's aspects of his character on Brooklyn Nine-Nine that are really great and wonderful and lovely and heartwarming, frankly,
Yeah.
or just funny because he is like objectively funny.
Yeah.
But a lot of it too, because it hinges so much on his muscular appearance, and so many of the jokes are at the expense of his character's formerly fat self, and those honestly make me like it less.
Yeah.
Like they just make me feel like, oh well, that's like 1% of the show that I'm never going to be able to enjoy because it's at my expense.
Yeah.
Like it's making fun of me, whether they know that or not. Like there's a part of their audience who can never connect with that
Yeah.
because of it, you know?
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I feel about
Okay.
that.
Gotcha.
You're welcome. This is what happens when you ask me how I feel about something and give me a microphone. I do, in fact, tell you.
You take
how I
30
feel.
minutes to say.
Jesus H. Christ.
Yeah.
God, I'm such an academic. And I hate academics. What's wrong with me?
You could have a TED Talk, and
I
you could
could.
do it off the cuff.
Off the cuff about any of like 10 or 15 different topics. And I would
That's a
figure it out.
pretty big range.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now that 10 to 15 things is a pretty big range of things.
You live with me. I could go on like a
Yeah, but
30-minute
I'm saying most people would be like 10 to 12, 10 or 11. You went 10 to 15.
Yeah, 10 to 15.
All right. Well,
Have I taken up enough of your time?
are you asking me or the audience?
Both.
Well, I mean, it's been an hour, so usually we try to keep it at around an hour, hour and a half, but there's not much else to really talk about just because,
We're in isolation sitting around doing nothing.
yeah, you've started watching Community and Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Mm-hmm.
Does Community have anything about fat in it? Because nobody's previously fat, as far as I know.
No.
Well, there's that. So that's
Yeah.
a thing. They make fun of Starburns, but I
But-
mean, that's his choice. He doesn't have
Right.
to have sideburns
He
like
chooses
that.
to shave his sideburns in the shape of stars. So
Yeah.
they're allowed to make fun of him.
Yeah, that's like when they make fun of beard face and Colonel Doctor and Snoop. Well, Snoop Dogg intern just kind of looks like Snoop Dogg, and he doesn't get made fun of. That's just what they call him.
This is his name
Yeah.
because that's objectively hilarious.
And
That he looks like Snoop Dogg.
yeah. Though I have been listening to the Scrubs Rewatch podcast with Zach Braff and Donald Faison. It's the podcast isn't called that. That's what they call it. But this podcast, if you want to look it up, if you are a fan of Scrubs, is called Real Friends, Fake Doctors with Zach and Donald.
That's so cute.
Yeah. Because Donald Faison and his now like his current wife got married in Zach Braff's backyard. So like they're best friends.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So, and listening to that has made me want to rewatch the show because I mean, I liked Scrubs so much growing up. I want to know whether or not it still does, like it holds well. Yeah. And one of the things they talked about in the first episode, in the pilot, there's a point where Sarah Chalk's character, Elliot, like JD's having a fantasy that they end up together and they're like on a sitcom and she like rips open her shirt and then they make out together and like she's in her bra and Donald is like, I don't know if they really needed her to do that. Like now he's looking back at it through his opinion now. But Zach was like, well, at the time you have to look at the context. Bill Lawrence, the showrunner, director, he was trying to push the envelope for what could be shown on primetime TV at the time. So to get that past the executives and say, this is what people can watch in their home in the like at 7 p.m. on like any given day with your family was more groundbreaking than it is nowadays, where it's just like, that's just like, that doesn't need to happen.
It's like gratuitous now.
Yeah. But
then
at
it
the
was
time,
like,
that
nobody was doing that.
Yeah. So it was interesting.
And I'm never going to complain about more titties.
Yeah. I mean, neither am I. But I'm just, it's interesting
I wish it were more
that
equitable,
they both,
that we got to see all kinds of titties.
they both had those opinions with organically. Like it wasn't like one of them forced one way. Like it's just he said that and then he said that. And it's like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't like.
And that makes sense. Like it's a choice that now would feel gratuitous, but then felt innovative.
Yeah.
And that's like what happens, right?
Yeah.
That's the life cycle of pushing the envelope. Is at the time it's a push, and then eventually it becomes so normal
that it's just like
that it's like almost like, oh, so you're not even trying to like, do anything.
Yeah
Because
it was the early
aughts.
Yeah, probably the early aughts, because it's been the 20th anniversary of Scrubs' first season is this year.
Wow.
So it was 2000. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, we were babies.
We were babs. Little babs.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I was just gotten into high school when the last season worth watching of Scrubs came out.
Wow.
Because even they talk about how the 8th season is, or is it I think it's the 8th season is gonna have a lot of jokes about it. Because they're not contractually obligated anymore, and the last season sucks. So
I'm glad they can just be where they're at. I support that.
But yeah, I've been listening to that. It's been interesting, and Scrubs is a good show. I want to see how well it holds up, even not as like looking back at it through 2020's lens of what do I find acceptable in media or anything anymore, but just as like a show by itself.
Right, like is it still good?
Yeah, because I liked how like when I watched it growing up, it was like I liked how quickly the story was being told and how many stories were told within one episode, because like it's not that I get bored, it's just it keeps a good pace because you're focusing like they tell like 3 different stories in 23 minutes,
which is really hard.
Yeah. So the editing is like really tight.
The writing has to be tight.
Yeah. And one of the things they talk about is like they have a lot of sound effects for like movements and body motions. Like for whatever reason, it's like when somebody moves their head, and that gets toned down a lot. And it's like they talk about that kind of stuff, and it's just been interesting. So that's cool. What else? I bought a game on Steam that's Diablo-like. That's fun.
It looks good. It's like Diablo, but prettier.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's like the entire genre of games is just Diablo. Like they're called ARPGs. Okay. But just Diablo-like is the thing most people call them. But other than that, I've just been like, there's not a lot going on differently. So that's going to be it, really.
Yep. I have to hop off because my boss is going to call me.
Yeah. So we're done.
Working from home vibes.
Thanks for watching,
Love you.
guys.
You're beautiful. If you thank the people, I'm going to go.
Yeah, I understand.
You're so cute. Thank you.
This is the Polishing Podcast, and I want to thank our patrons who help support the show and keep me from having to pay for it out of pocket. You guys are beautiful and awesome. That is Achilles, Patrick Certain Quinn, thank you so much for pledging the Patreon. You're all awesome. Anyone who continues to listen to the show on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcasts, Google Play. I think this is still getting up on iTunes. I need to double check the actual Apple podcast thing, because last time I checked it wasn't updating. I should do that. Whoops. But yeah, thank you for listening on any of those things, or even on Podbean. That still gets a pretty decent amount of views, listens. But yeah, thanks so much. We appreciate it as always, and we'll see you guys next time on the next episode of the Polishing Podcast.